Greetings, AMCers. Welcome to Script-To-Screen. My name's John Campia. Listen, I am something of a sci-fi nut, and that makes this weekend for me a pretty exciting one because the new sci-fi film Skyline opens in AMC theaters everywhere. Skyline is directed by the brothers Strauss, Colin and Greg, who recently directed Aliens vs. Predators Requiem, but are also visual effects supervisors who have worked on some of the biggest visual effects movies of all time, such as Avatar, 2012, Wolverine, 300, and many, many, many more. Today, I'm very lucky to be joined by one of the brothers, Colin Strauss, and one of Skyline's writers, Mr. Liam O'Donnell. And guys, before we get started, and first of all, thank you for joining us. Before we get started, why don't you tell us about Skyline?
It's a movie about the kind of the end of the world, and a big massive alien abduction, and following the story of a group of survivors that are in this luxury high-rise in Los Angeles that basically have, box seats to the end of the world.
Liam, as one of the writers of the film, why don't you tell us, where did you get this idea for Skyline, or what was your inspiration for coming up with this Skyline story?
The inspiration, it kind of came, based on what we said. It's kind of like what we had. We knew that we had the set, which was Greg's apartment, and just standing there and looking out at the city, how can I fill that canvas with a story?
Right.
And so that kind of was the inspiration when we decided that we wanted to make something from the tools that we already owned. We already had the cameras. We have a VFX company, or more appropriately, the brothers own a VFX company, and when we had Greg's apartment, which has this really unique view of Marina del Rey, has the entire city. How can we fill this up with a story? And then, once we kind of came up with that overall premise, how can we make these characters interesting? How can we have a nice thematic story with heart and, have a little bit of a love story, have a survival story, have all the things that we really like in movies. And so the inspiration then kind of came into, when you're in a contained situation, it's always going to come back to Dawn of the Dead in some way. And so the Romero movies, Night of the Living Dead as well, and then even just kind of the other genre staples. But it was always that kind of like, how do we keep the conflict fresh and fun between all the characters while they're experiencing the end of the world.
Colin, you and Greg, as I said in the beginning, have worked on some of the biggest visual effects movies of all time. Now, a few years ago, I had the chance to talk with visual effects legend John Knowles, and he said that he believed the way modern effects are done, the way modern visual effects are done, he believes that modern visual effects supervisors are most uniquely positioned to make a smooth transition into directing. Do you agree with that statement? And if so, what is it about modern visual effects that makes that transition so easy for visual effects supervisors?
Yeah, I would completely agree. And there's some differences, though. There's reasons why not everyone can do the step up. But basically, being a visual effects supervisor on a movie, you're sometimes hired before the director's hired.
Right.
There are times where studios going like, we're making this big giant tentpole movie. It's an open directing assignment, but hey, before we even greenlight, the next X-Men or the next Batman or whatever, studio has to actually budget out the film and go like, is this a $50 million movie or a $250 million movie? So they usually hire the visual effects supervisors first. So you're breaking down the storyboards. You have to read the script. You have to go like, I just read, a giant spaceship comes down, sucks everyone off the face of the earth. How many shots is that? How would I cover that? What would I need? And then you have to also handle the physical production side. Like, do we need to shoot miniatures? Do we need green screen? Do we need 10 people for the crowd replacement? Do we need 1,000 people? Like, there's all the things that, so you're getting a taste of all the different things, and depending on the supervisor, some are more hands-on than others. But, sometimes you're literally basically like a second unit director as well. You're in the helicopters, right. You're doing this, and then you're also, the important thing is you're helping tell the story. Now, you're telling the story 3 seconds at a time, focusing on each shot, making sure every frame counts, and then also it's the stuff that helps sells the movie. So you're part of the marketing campaign. Like when those shots are for trailer, there's like you're always kind of involved. And usually the other funny thing is we're usually on the movie after the director's gone.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? The directors could be like on a boat somewhere hanging out, and we're still trying to finish the last part of the movie because he's kind of did his job. We're just trying to wrap everything up. So you can literally be on it longer than a lot of the other creatives on the film. So And then you do that, 70 times, and, you eventually get enough chops that you think you can do it yourself.
Now, I personally actually used to work in a visual effects company, and I know a lot of visual effects artists. And as a breed, we all seem to be pretty much predisposed to being sci-fi junkies. Would you guys consider yourselves to be sci-fi junkies? And if so, where do you see you guys going from here after Skyline?
Yeah, no, look, sci-fi is where it's got our heart. I mean, one of the first real movie experiences that I can remember is watching Aliens. And that's just, that was one of the movies that just totally changed me. And Jurassic Park was another life-changing movie for us, because that was when I was in high school, and it was, and we were like, okay, this is what we have to do. And then when we finally saw Terminator 2, that was the thing that said, F this, we're moving to Los Angeles.
Right.
We have to do movies, because we're already, at that point, we're doing some things in Chicago on a very small scale, but it was that was the movie that was like, you know what? This is a whole new world. This is, Cameron changed the way filmmaking is going to be forever. And that's, we got to be part of that.
Well, Colin, Liam, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on AMC. Congratulations on Skyline. We cannot wait to see it on AMC screens this weekend.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.